Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Office Hours. My name is Adrian, and guess what day it is? It's Groundhog Day. That's really exciting. This marks our third year, the beginning of our third year, the end of our second year, but our third year of being in business, which is super exciting. We started this company way back in late 2018, and here we are in the beginning of 2021, and it's just super exciting for me. I had no idea the amount of work that was going to be involved and the number of people that we were going to be able to help. I had no idea the trajectory. I had no idea. I'm sure nobody really has any idea when they initially started business, but it has been an incredible ride, and I am so fortunate and so grateful that I get to wake up every day and have it be Groundhog Day. So that's exciting. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what is Groundhog Day, because I didn't actually know this when I initially named the company, but most people don't know what a groundhog is if you're not from North America. And North America only makes up 40% of our audience. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the heck is a groundhog, what's Groundhog Day, why do we celebrate it, and then also some announcements about what's going on, not only today, but until next week as well. We have some events and some promotions going on. And then we're going to talk about email deliverability, because there's a hot topic in the Facebook group right now about why emails end up in the Google promotions folder or end up in spam. And there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet and a lot of confusion about why emails are spam or promotions or updates or in the main inbox. And I have the answers to that through many years of experience sending email and also learning from some of the top email deliverability experts in the world. So I'm going to share a little bit about some of the things that I know to be true about email deliverability and all that fun stuff. Michael says, can you tell us why you called the company Groundhog? We're going to talk about exactly that. So if you're joining us late and you didn't get to watch the stream from the beginning, have no fear. You will be able to catch the full recording of Groundhog Office Hours, today's session, on YouTube as well as on Groundhog Academy after the fact. So if you want to go back and watch that replay later, no worries, it will be made available to you. So what's Groundhog Day, right? So basically only people in North America actually know what Groundhog Day is, from like Mexico up. Nobody else knows unless they've been to the United States or been to Canada and they've been around on February 2nd. Nobody really knows what the heck Groundhog Day is about. And I actually didn't even know this, but when we started selling Groundhog in countries like Italy and in France and in Switzerland, because we have a few customers out there, people would come to us and they'd say, what's a groundhog? Because this animal doesn't really exist anywhere else in the world. So I actually have a map here of where the groundhog can be located in the world. There are distant relatives of the groundhog, like the capybara in Africa, so that's like a distant relative of the groundhog. But the groundhog as we know it, otherwise known as a woodchuck, a gopher, or my face is blocking it. There is also the French call it a marmotte, which I'll just move my face up a little bit here really slowly because it won't let me do it otherwise. There we go. So a woodchuck, a gopher, or a marmotte can be typically found in the United States and Canada, mostly on the East Coast, and then through like a northwest like pillar up towards the prairies, and then towards the Canadian territories and into Alaska. So that is the typical area of population for groundhogs. They're in very like moderate climates, so cold in the winter, warm in the summer. They hibernate, and they're basically just a fat squirrel, to be completely honest. They don't climb trees, but they burrow and they create dugouts in the ground. That's where they live. They are common golf course pests. If anyone's seen the Bill Murray movie Caddyshack, he basically goes around the entire movie trying to rid the golf course of a very pesky groundhog. And it is the star of Groundhog Day. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what Groundhog Day is, essentially on February 2nd, which is today, a groundhog in several key locations in the world So Puxatawny, Pennsylvania is Puxatawny Phil. We have Wiarton Willie here in Ontario. We have Fred Le Mammut out in Quebec. And we have a few other groundhogs elsewhere throughout North America. And on February 2nd, they come out. And if they see their shadow, then the prediction is that there will be an additional 6 weeks of winter. If they don't see their shadow, so if it's an overcast day and they don't see their shadow, that means we're going to have an early spring. And that's the tradition. So they bring out the groundhog, and the mayor usually of the city talks to the groundhog, otherwise known as the prognosticator, to get this weather forecast, essentially. And that will tell us and inform us whether we're going to have an early spring or a late winter. And that is where Groundhog Day comes from. I don't really know the actual origin of Groundhog Day. There's a little bit of contention on the true origins of where this day began. But I'm going to lead this into talking about Groundhog Day, the movie. Now, this movie is my favorite movie. I absolutely love this movie. You can watch it and it just never gets old, and you always pick up on new details. And the moral of the story, the moral of the plot of this movie, I think, is just incredibly powerful. It's actually nominated and inducted into the International Movie Historic Records as the most spiritual movie of all time. And you can look that up. I think that's true. And the moral of this movie, essentially, Phil Taylor, the character who's on the right here, is someone who is a narcissist, self-interested ass, basically, at the beginning of this movie. And he goes to Puxatawny in Pennsylvania to cover Groundhog Day. So he gets there. He goes through a relatively uneventful and unfulfilling day where he goes to the bar and has a drink, and then he goes home or goes to his hotel alone and unfulfilled. And then he wakes the next day and it's Groundhog Day all over again. And then every day after that, it continues to just be Groundhog Day. And he's living the same day over and over and over and over again. At first, he thinks he's going crazy, and then he realized that each day has absolutely no consequences. So he indulges in his selfishness and in his narcissism, and uses that power of no consequences to exploit money and exploit women and just be a general piece of work for the entire town. But everyone wakes up the next day not remembering anything about the day before, except for Phil, who of course remembers and is able to put together all of these events and then continue to do things. Eventually it gets to a point where he realizes that his life has no meaning because every day is exactly the same and nothing he can do can change that. So he resides to trying to end his life through a very manner of grim fates. He drives a truck with Puxatawny Phil, off a cliff, which explodes. He tries to kill himself with a toaster in a bathtub. He tries to, drop himself off a building, all to unavail. He just wakes up the next day completely unharmed, as if nothing had ever happened. So this continues for some time until eventually his attentions turn to a homeless man who can't get food at a diner. So he buys he buys the homeless man dinner, and then his life turns into trying to save this man who dies every night because he's old and it's cold out and he doesn't have anywhere to stay. So his attention for the next few days of his existence in this world is trying to save this homeless man. He realizes that, he can't exactly save him, but he can make his life better. And then from there, his talent or his focus turns to empowering himself to be able to bring joy to the lives of other people in this unending purgatory of Groundhog Day. So instead of focusing on his own selfish needs and his own whatnot, he focuses on improving himself so that he can go ahead and improve the lives of other people. He does ice sculptures. He learns piano so he can play at the big Groundhog Day dance. He learns how to change spare tires on old ladies' cars. He catches a kid out from under a tree, and he learns all of these talents and compiles all these skills until eventually he can go through a perfect day, essentially, which ends in him being purchased at a gentleman's auction by the love interest, and he wakes up the next day and there's no longer Groundhog Day. It's February 3rd. The moral of this, in all of this, is essentially, once you choose to focus on empowering yourself and improving yourself, not for your own benefit, but for the benefit of others, is when we truly start to see results. It's when we truly make a positive impact on the world. And there's so much kind of fluff in the marketing industry, especially from people who claim just this one simple trick will absolutely change your life. And it's never that easy. It takes consistent focus and effort and commitment and consistency, like going through the same day over and over and over again, but continuously pouring in effort into your own ability, into your own learning, into your own self betterment, so that you can go ahead and then you can take that information that you've learned and you can go impact the lives of other people in a positive way. And I think that's just a really, really, really nice thing. That's a nice moral. It's a nice lesson to take from this movie. And it's my favorite movie. And so that is why, we call Groundhog, because we continuously invest everything that we do and everything we make, and all of my energy and all of my team's energy constantly into the product and into the courses and into our education and into our customers, so that our customers can go out and be successful and then make positive impacts in their circle of influence, and then their customers make positive impacts in their customers and their customer and their circles of influence. And we kind of just want to be kind of like the seed where this positive impact expands out from. And that's why I started this company. That's why we call it Groundhog, and that's why I wake up every day and I'm always happy that it's Groundhog Day. So for those of you who are wondering why the hell did you call it Groundhog, because that's just out of left field, it makes no sense. There's a little bit of history on that. There's the reason why. If you haven't seen Groundhog Day, go watch it. It's a brilliant movie. Harry is posting in the chat. And by the way, if you have any comments or feedback or you want to ask questions, jump in the chat so that I can see your feedback and read your questions and read that out and repeat that to everyone who's on the call with me today. Harry says, Reviewers were consistent in praise for the film's successful melding of highly sentimental and deeply cynical moments, and for the philosophical message beneath the comedy. It is really that perfect combination of comedy, but also like deep meaning. So it's not so that you're watching it and you're like, oh, this makes me feel so existential about my life, but you're watching it and it gets the message through while you can still enjoy your time. And I think they really perfectly executed in terms of a movie on that principle. So absolutely, Harry. Michael Mills says, great story. Thank you for sharing that. I'm a filmmaker and never seen the film. Time to see the film today. Absolutely, you absolutely should. It is a brilliant movie. It's 1993, and it's like classic Bill Murray. And I don't know if there are any other Bill Murray fans. I love pretty much every single movie he's in. I always think he's hilarious. But it's the philosophical message behind the comedy is super impactful. CJ says, I'm totally gonna watch it again. You sold me. Go watch it again and keep what I've mentioned in mind. It's that message that when you start to invest in yourself, not for your own personal gain, but for the gain of others, is when you truly experience success and fulfillment. That's the message that I got from it. And that really is what causes me, or that's what helps me wake up every morning and say, I don't want to go to work today. There's so many people in this world who get up every morning and they think, oh, I don't want to go to work today, or I don't want to do it. And that's not fulfilling, right? So it's like, put yourself in a position where you can be fulfilled in doing what you love every day. All right, that's enough rambling about that. We have actual stuff to talk about, actual marketing stuff, actual email stuff, actual questions to answer. So enough me rambling about Groundhog Day. A couple of announcements. We won a gold award, which is super exciting. So the fruits of our labor and the fruits of investing in ourselves for the betterment of others has paid off. We applied to the Stevie Awards, which is an American business awards competition where lots of large businesses apply to win awards. And we applied in the CRM Suite new version category for last year for our 2.0 version, which has been around for a while, but still we posted the before and afters and our reviews from customers and everything, and we got a gold trophy, which looks like this. So we won another one last year. So this is the one from last year, so we just won another one of these. So that's kind of cool. It's nice to be recognized. And that just goes to show you that putting other people before yourself works. If you help enough people get what they want, you can eventually have what you want. Next, Groundhog Day flash sale. So we have Bill Murray on the scene at in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania, telling you that if you use the code Groundhog Day 2021, Groundhog with 2 G's, spelt the way that we spell it here, because I can't spell it correctly anymore. I try to type Groundhog with 1 G, and I can't do it. But we're offering 20% off all 1-year and 3-year license plans. We brought back the 3-year license, so if you missed out on that during the Black Friday period, no worries. We're bringing that back until February 8th. If you already have a 1-year license, you can upgrade. Instructions to do that are available. So until February 8th, Groundhog Day 2021, 20% off those plans. Giveaway, all new orders within this period, so between February 2nd today and February 8th, all renewals, all upgrades, and all new licenses will be automatically entered to win a Groundhog mug, which I'm actually drinking out of right now. Not this exact one, although if you wanted this one, we might be able to work something out. Be kind of weird though. But no, a brand new Groundhog mug, which looks like this. I love it. They're really great quality. And a Groundhog t-shirt as well. Not this specific one, but one like it. So all new orders, all upgrades, renewals, again, will be automatically entered into this giveaway. And we're going to be announcing the winner of that on February 9th. So email deliverability. This was a hot topic in the Facebook group today, and I wanted to talk about it and put some context around it. Because there's a lot of, people, there's just a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of confusion, and there's just a lot of things about it. Michael Mills is asking, how do we just buy a mug or t-shirt? You can't yet at this point in time. We might be able to work something out. You can send us a message if you really, 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 really want one, but you don't enter the contest. We might be able to work something out for you, Michael. Just send us a message and we'll see what we can do. But currently we don't have a method to just buy one. So if you really want one though, enter the contest by either pre-renewing or upgrading or join the certified partner program if you're not a certified partner yet, for anyone who's interested. Okay, back to email deliverability. Lots of misinformation, lots of confusion. I would like to clear up a few things up first, starting with the fact that Google, Yahoo, and Outlook are smarter than we are. They have legions of engineers and developers and data and user stats to tell whether you are trying to sell something, whether you are trying to promote something, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a sale, whether it's a product, that they know whether an email is sent from someone personally or from a service, or it's spam, or it's an update, or it's related to a social network. They know because they have more data and information than we do, and they choose to not share what good email is. So I just want to get that out there up front to set the expectation that you will not get a 100% inbox rate because nobody does. I'm pretty sure it's virtually impossible to get a 100% inbox rate for a promotional email that you are sending that promotes something. If you send a blast email about, you may say, well, this isn't a promotional email. It is, because it's a blast email to your list, probably telling them to do something which is promoting, right? That's the thing. They know. The inbox providers, they know. They're smarter than we are. And we just have to accept that as a fact, and we just have to do as much as we possibly can to send good email that they like, so that they decide, you know what? I know this is a promotional email, but I'm going to inbox it anyway because I think it's relevant to the user. That is how we overcome that. And I'm going to talk about exactly what that looks like. So we were talking, so someone in the group today was saying, all of my emails are ending up in the promotions folder. What gives? And as I said, they are smarter than we are. You cannot beat or game the promotions folder if you're sending a promotional email. That's just not how it works, right? And here are some reasons why. So what gets you in the promotions folder? What are the reasons that you end up there when you're sending an email? So here are some examples. There's too many images in your email. The tracking image for email open tracking counts as one of those images. There's too many links in your email. So you have multiple call to actions or something, right? And you have all of the links in the footer for unsubscribe. So there's too many links in your email. That's unorganic. Someone sending a personal email would not include 15 links. That's an inorganic transaction. There's too much HTML formatting. So if you have a really nice styled email, there's too much white space. So if there's too much white space in the HTML of your email, if the email is too long, if the email is not personalized, so it's missing the name of the recipient, you're sending from a poor sender IP, or your sender IP has a poor reputation rather. Your domain has a poor sending reputation. The links in the email don't match the links of the sender. So you're sending it from one email, but the links point to somewhere else. You're using emojis and subject lines, etc. Like these are all things which are basically automatic promotions folders. And one or more, if you have a combination of these items, you can basically just kiss the primary folder goodbye. That's just not happening. Like there's no way. Keywords, which will land you in the spam or promotions folder automatically. View in browser, right? So if you're using the view in browser function of Groundhog, that'll get you in the promotions folder. If you have %off in the email, promotions folder. Change preferences, promotions folder. Black Friday, promotions folder. Unsubscribe, promotions folder. Limited time, promotions folder. Discount, promotions folder. Sale, promotions folder. Need I go on? These are combinations of these things, right? If you get 2 or 3 kind of like tick marks in this area, promotions folder, it's game over. There's absolutely nothing you can do, right? That's the name of the game, because Google is smart now. They read your email. They know what it says. They also know what everyone else receiving the same email is doing with that email. So Google has a neural network which scrapes all of the inboxes of all of their users. And from all of the email that Groundhog sends, they take how people interact with the email that we send across all of the inboxes, and then basically give us a score based on the email that we send, and then that score is used to determine inbox placement. So that's what's happening in the background. Google and Yahoo and Outlook and all of these other providers track how we as consumers and recipients of email interact with the email that we receive. That assigns the sender of that email a score that is used to determine inbox placement across all of the other inboxes. So it's kind of like this neural network cumulative process. And if you're sending email that has any of these things and that ends you up in the promotions folder, guess what? You're kind of stuck there. That's just how it is. There's no way to beat this system. So the only thing you can do to get in the primary inbox is to send better email. That is the only way to avoid the promotions folder, is to send better email, which means none of this stuff, right? Here are 2 emails that we sent today. Every single one of these ended up in the promotions folder, but I knew that they were going to end up in the promotions folder. We have HTML formatting, we have a bunch of links, we have a bunch of images, it's a super long thing, and we knew that it was going to end up in the promotions folder, but in the promotions folder, what the game I'm playing for is being the one that you choose to read in the promotions folder. Some people choose to ignore the promotions folder. I'm in it every day because that's just my life. And a lot of the people that I communicate also end up in the promotions folder because that's how the neural network decided to respond to that. So I always knew that these were going to end up with the promotions folder. So my mentality when sending this email was, all right, well, how do I make this, promotional email that will be in the promotions folder as effective as possible? How do I get people to click on the links? What's the offer? What's the subject line? And let's get as maximum visibility within the promotions folder as we possibly can. But there was no way that either of these emails were ever going to inbox. That's just not a game that we can win, because there's too many call to actions, then there's too many links, and just all of that. And it was game over before we even started. There was no purpose for me to try and get it to a point where it would inbox. So what does better email actually look like if these things are just automatic promotions folders? Like, what do we do? I want to be in the inbox. What do I have to do that? Here's what an email that inbox looks like. It's plain text or very little text. Very few links. You can notice that there is 1, 2, 3. There's 4 links in this email. 1 for the unsubscribe, 1 to the terms and privacy policy, which are required by law. The tell link doesn't really count, because if you click on it, it just opens their phone app. And the confirmation link, the confirm your email link, right? But very little text, so it looks like I could have written this. Right? Gmail's like, this could have come from like someone, like a real person. The probability is still low because there's other things that identify this as something that came from a sender, right? Etc. But very few links. Content is short and sweet. It's personalized, right? It says, hey, Adrian, or, looking forward to meeting you, Adrian, or I use the name several times in the email. It's got no images in it. I think I'll already mention up. There's no salesy keywords in here, right? It doesn't say discount, it doesn't say sale, it doesn't say any of that stuff, right? So super plain, super short, super sweet, 1 call to action, very few links, etc. This is what good email looks like. This is what better email, this is what email that inboxes look like. Obviously, this can't be applied to every single purpose that you have in your marketing. That's just unrealistic to use this kind of email for everything, right? So you have to be okay with being in the promotions folder, but doing your best to maximize your visibility in the promotions folder, right? Other things you can do to overcome this is getting people to whitelist your address or to move your email to the primary inbox. Because if people explicitly choose to override what Gmail thinks about your email, you can do that, because Gmail will have like their global neural network defaults. But users by themselves can say, I want this to be in the primary folder. So you have to train your customers to do that if you want that kind of interaction or you want that kind of customer relationship. So that's promotions folder. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to talk about some stuff that'll end up in the spam folder in a minute. But a lot of people are like, updates, social, promotions, how do I overcome that? You don't, right? It's just 2 or more of these. It's automatic unless you can train your customers to explicitly choose to have and receive your emails in the primary folder by dragging it from your promotions to your main inbox. And they have to do that like several times in order for it to stick really as well. So it's quite the process. So my recommendation would be to live with it and deal with it and write your emails and your subject lines for maximum visibility and interaction in the promotions folder itself. So again, if your email has these things in it, it's like game over, man. Especially if you're sending out like 50,000 emails and you have, a 10% open rate. So here's an interesting thing about open rates. Google tracks, because you as a domain and as a sender have a Google profile. Your domain has a Google profile for sending. And you can actually look up your Google domain or your Gmail sender reputation through Postmaster, Google Postmaster, and it will tell you what your domain reputation is. And if people don't open your emails very often, or you have a low open rate, you're going to stop inboxing and you're going to start hitting the spam folder, because if people mark your emails as spam, guess what? Now you're spam. Or if they don't open, your inbox placement is going to get continuously worse. So that is another thing. So send good email, right? Don't send spam and don't send bad email. Bad email, again, listed here. Well, this isn't necessarily bad email, but in Google's mind, and Google thinks it's bad email because it puts it in the promotions folder. It is promotional email if it has these things. Like, that's okay. Sending promotional email is okay. It's just you have to send good promotional email and use best practices and provide clear call to actions and all of those things as well. Okay, things that will end you up in the spam folder. So how to avoid the spam folder? Set up SPF and DKIM. I do actually, I have feedback. It looks like I started a little bit too soon. Steve Begg says, hey Adrian, if you end up in the promotional box several times, does this mean that that email address will be there forever? Therefore, should we use a different email address for promotional versus transactional? No, it does not. So I use info@groundhog.io to both send email and use it as a personal inbox email as well. So the email address is not necessarily heavily affected by this. Again, it comes mostly down to these factors here. Because I send email from info@groundhog.io all the time in my personal inbox all the time without issue. Because when I send those emails, it's usually like 1 or 2 sentences with 0 formatting, and that's it, right? That's the kind of email that I send personally. I'm really short to the point. I don't write novels when I send personal email, and I use the same email for both because that's kind of just like my brand, and that's how I communicate with people and how I reply to people who reply to my blast emails. So it does not matter. Some people choose to send from different addresses, and you're absolutely welcome to do that. If you send from a no reply email address, promotions folder or updates folder. If your email address says no reply in it, promotions or updates, done. Like that's like, I should mention that. I should add that into this chart somewhere. For a better chance at inboxing, and you're sending these blast emails and you want to inbox, again, all of these things are going to get you in the promotions folder. But something you can try is sending from a personal email address, like Adrian@groundhog.io, which I don't do. I've never bothered to do it because I've kind of just given up at this point because I know that it's not going to make a difference with the email I already send. But that's something that you can try if you're doing low volume at this point, like under 500. You can try sending it from like @ben@whatever mysitename.com is. That's something that you can do. And then you can have another email address for your personal. But in my experience, for your specific question, like does sending blast email from one address and then using it personally as well affect your reputation for that specific email address? In my experience, it does not matter. Because when I send personal email, it still gets through because Google knows if you're sending personal email through Gmail, like they know that. Like they're smart enough to tell the difference. So hopefully that answers your question, Steve. Back to spam folder, SPF, Sender Policy Framework, DKIM, which I don't remember what it stands for, domain, I'm just gonna Google it. I looked it up and then I'm having a brain freeze. DKIM, domain keys identified mail. Okay, so it's SPF, Sender Policy Framework, DKIM, domain keys identified mail. You do not necessarily need to know what these things mean, but you do need to know that you need to implement them, and your SMTP service of choice will provide ways to implement these into your system. Usually it means modifying DNS records, which are what the internet uses to tell where your website is located and any assets related to your website. Your SMTP service provides these, and essentially when you set it up correctly, when Google or any other inbox provider receives an email from SendGrid, but you at mywebsite.com sent it, SPF and DKIM will inform Google that SendGrid has the authority and has permission to send that email on your behalf. That's essentially what SPF and DKIM do. It's basically an access card for third-party SMTP services to send email on your behalf. Okay? That's what that means. And having that not set up is a fast pass to the spam folder. Not having SPF and DKIM is a great way to never have your emails inbox in any situation whatsoever, even if you're sending the best email in the world. Okay? Super, super important to have that set up. All SMTP service providers worth their salt will provide instructions on how to verify your email with SPF and DKIM. Some won't even let you send email unless you've gone through those 2 steps, like AWS SES. SendGrid, they don't care really, but they should. Mailhawk, which is our own service, we require that you verify your domain before you can send email. Mailgun also requires that you verify. Elastic Email requires that you verify those two things before you send email. So those are some trusted SMTP service providers that provide SPF and DKIM so that you can tell inbox service providers that they are authorized to send email on your behalf. So here are some things to not do if you want to avoid the spam folder. Don't use Gmail to send promotional email. You will end up in spam. I think I tell 3 people a week to give up using WP SMTP or WP Mail SMTP with their Gmail account, because that is a great way to absolutely destroy your domain's sender reputation. Because Gmail is a personal email service. It's not a transactional or promotional email service. It's meant to send a specific kind of email like, hey, Adrian, why didn't you come into work this week? You know, that's what it's meant to send. It's not meant to say, hey, everyone, you know, this is the sale that we have going on right now. Log into your account and upgrade, and here's all the promotional bits and everything. That's not what Gmail is for. It is for a very specific kind of personal, one-to-one kind of email. Using it outside of that context will get you in the spam folder. It will get your account in trouble, and it will tank your domain sender reputation. Plus, it's just a terrible service. It's slow, and it has very, 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 very limited capability in terms of sender amounts. Like, it's limited like 200 a day or 2,000 a day or something, and like 100 an hour. It's just really terrible all in all. So don't use it. Number 2, do not use your own server to send email. You will end up in spam. Again, I can't tell how many times like people install Groundhog without any transactional email service. They're using shared hosting on like SiteGround or WP Engine or something. And then they press send on a broadcast to like 10,000 people, and lo and behold, they get like a 2% open rate because 98% of their email ended up in spam because they used a hosting network's shared IP address to send that email. That is a surefire way to end up in spam because shared IPs are just trash for email reputation. They're just god awful, right? Because basically what you're saying to Google is, hey, I'm a new sender with this random IP address that has no history with sending email in the past, but I want you to trust me that I'm sending good email. Thumbs up. Yeah, no, that's not how that works. Using your server, your hosting server, your shared IP, even if you have a dedicated VPS, right? The IP address of that server has no authority or has no authority or history with any inbox services, and that's just going to end up in spam. To that end, don't use a dedicated IP. Okay, you will also end up in spam. So SendGrid and other SMTP services provide dedicated IPs at great expense. Those are only worthwhile if you're sending millions of email a month. Millions of emails. Like, that's the only time that that's ever applicable in my own personal opinion, because a dedicated IP, if you're sending, let's say, a volume of 10,000 emails per month and 100 people mark you as spam, that means you get like a 1% spam rate, which is going to greatly decrease your sender IP's reputation. But if you're sending 1 million emails a month and you get 100 people, the actual percentages are much, much, much lower. So if you have a dedicated IP and like 10 people mark your email as spam, that's going to trash your IP reputation, and you're going to have to spend a long time rebuilding that reputation. Transactional email services like SendGrid, when you're not using a dedicated IP, like Mailhawk, like AWS SES, use rotating IPs for all of their clients, and they're constantly scrutinizing them and blocking bad senders and maintaining their relationships with all of these inbox providers so that they have a better chance of getting your email to the inbox. And they're monitoring, and they're using these trusted domains that have history. So a SendGrid IP or a Mailhawk IP, for example, we've spent a lot of time like building the reputation of these IPs through transactional email and using Groundhog and all these different things. And when you start using that service and you send an email, they're basically going to Gmail, SendGrid's going to Gmail with that email that you sent and said, hey, remember all of the other millions of emails that I've sent to your service? I just have like one more that I'd love to deliver to a client if that's okay. And Gmail's going to be like, yeah, that sounds like a great plan. Here, come on in, we trust you, SendGrid, or we trust you, Mailhawk, because you've typically sent good email on behalf of your customers in the past. So any new customers that you have, we're gonna let them send as well, unless they do something bad. And then SendGrid is gonna say, absolutely, I understand. If this ends up being a dud, we're gonna ban their account. That's the relationship that happens when you're using a transactional email service. If you use a dedicated IP from one of these services, this is how that conversation goes. They show up, and they say, hey, I'm a brand new IP with no email history, but I would like to deliver 1 million emails. Is that okay? I don't know who you are. I don't trust you. The answer is no, spam folder. So those are some reasons why not to use Gmail, not to use your server, and not to use a dedicated IP. Use a trusted SMTP service, set up to SPF and DKIM, and you will have a much better time. I guarantee you're going to have a much, 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 much happier time sending email, and especially understanding the underlying principles of what gets you into the promotions folder and being okay with it. If you spend like days trying to get out of the promotions folder, but your email has these things in it, it's a waste of time. So you should instead be focusing on, okay, well, if I'm gonna end up in the promotions folder, how do I increase my visibility? How do I increase my open rates? How do I increase my click-through rates? By writing engaging headlines, by writing engaging content, clear call to actions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully this provides a little bit of context to the conversation that was happening in the group about being in the promotions tab. Okay, that was a long rant. Obviously, you can tell that I'm very passionate about this subject. I do live it on a daily basis, so that might be why. But we do have a couple of questions, so I'm going to take those now. I have a question from Stacy, and Stacy asks, what is the current thinking on a good open rate? 20 to 30% is what I think is good. Actually, 20 to 30% is exemplary. 15% is good. Is basically what I would say. 15% is good. 20 to 30 exemplary. Groundhog's open rate is in the 20 to like 25 area. So I'd say that's like in between good and exemplary somewhere. But we send a lot of promotional email. Like we send good email, but it is promotional email of the day. The reason I send email is to make money, and that's what promotional email is. So, we end up in the promotions folder, and my job is to get maximum visibility in the promotions folder as possible. Steve, hopefully that answers your question, by the way, Stacy. So 15 is good, 20 to 25 is better, and then 25 to 30 is exemplary. Let's call it that. Opinions might be change, or people may have differing opinions on those numbers, but in my own personal experience, that's what I've seen. Stacy says, my rate is 14.5% and my higher rate is 25%. That is the sweet spot, Stacy. If you're doing those numbers, I'd give yourself a pat on the back. That's typical. Actually, that's actually better than typical in a lot of cases. So congratulations, you're in the sweet spot. Certain kinds of email, by the way, will also get better open rates, right? If I send, or if someone in the footer of in their website footer, there's a form to get a 15% discount code, right? You submit your email, we send you an email with a 15% discount code in it, right? That ends up in the promotion folder, but that email also has a 75% open rate for like 150 people, because that was an explicitly requested email on their behalf. They wanted to receive that email, so they're gonna go to their inbox and they're gonna open it. So obviously that email has a much better open rate than our Groundhog Day email blast, which gets a 15% open rate, right? Because that email was unsolicited. Unsolicited email will get lower open rates than solicited email, the ones that they ask for. So that you also have to keep that in mind as well. So for unsolicited email, 15 to 20% is really good. I would say that. So I'm going to qualify that answer, that 15 to 25% or 15 to 20% for unsolicited email, just blast emails that you're sending out randomly, that's really, really good. And 25 to 30% for solicited email is very good as well. So there we go. Steve says, on Gmail, many people use their Google Business Suite for their business emails. So does that mean that we shouldn't be using Google given the email is effectively Gmail? You can use Gmail for personal email for your organization. So if I have 30 employees, they can all have G Suite Gmails if they're using it for their own personal use. What I'm saying is that you should not use Gmail's SMTP service. I don't know why they provide one, because they shouldn't, because it's bad. But if they're using, or if a business is using the SMTP settings in WordPress to send password reset emails and groundhog broadcast emails, that is bad. That is what I'm saying. So you need to use an actual SMTP service, Mailhawk, AWS, SendGrid, Mailgun, Elastic Email, or whatever, to send your WordPress transactional emails, your password reset emails, your account created emails, to send your broadcast, your Groundhog broadcast emails, your Groundhog funnel emails, etc. You can use G Suite and Gmail for personal email, for one-on-one email, for group email, for all of those different things, but don't use it on your WordPress site, is basically what I'm saying. So if that wasn't clear, I'm sorry. Hopefully that clarifies that answer for you a little bit, Steve. Okay. Michael says, great thorough presentation on email issues and best practices, Adrian. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I really hope that this provides just a little bit more context about what you should expect when you're sending big email, right? This is a lot, I understand that for a lot of our customers, this is really like the first time they're sending emails to big lists, and they may have, other SaaS products, sometimes, their numbers aren't as representative of the truth as we'd like them to be. Groundhog as an open source platform is like, we're all truth. You're responsible for the results that you create, not us, right? You're responsible for your IP and which services you choose and what email content you write, etc. So there you go. So hopefully that provides a little bit of context and what your expectations should be when you're sending big email. I hope this helps somebody. MJ says, thanks for dropping all these gold nuggets, Adrian. No problem, MJ. I'm glad you found this valuable. So, Q&A. Do we have questions about the promotions folder or the spam folder? And again, I know I've been focusing a lot on Gmail, but all of this applies for the other ones as well, Yahoo and Outlook, right? They all do the same thing. They all have these neural networks and these sender reputations, and they have IP reputation tables and reports and all of these different things. So all of what I've said has applied to everyone, or as far as all of the big inbox providers. Steve says, helped me. Awesome, Steve. Stacy says, this was super helpful. You're welcome, Stacy. John Whitford. Hey, John. Hope you're doing good. John says, been getting inconsistent deliverability with a big name hosted email system. How much deliverability is linked to SPF DKIM? If we change our DKIM, should that largely take over the deliverability? So if you're having inconsistent results with a big sender, it could be the fact that you got a bad rotated IP. Again, so what a lot of these senders do is they have a rotating IP. So one time you send, you're on one IP address, and one time you send, you're on another IP address, and those reputations are constantly fluctuating based on the email that anybody else is sending at the same time. Like if you're sending an email at 9 a.m., everyone else in the world is also sending an email at 9 a.m. Like that's how it is, right? Because that's a really popular time to send an email. So that IP being rotated at the time might be affected deliberately by someone else's email that's not as good as yours is. And therefore your sender reputation or your email inboxability, which is a word I will just invent right now, will be impacted by someone else who's sending that same email before, whoever your service is, Mailgun or SendGrid or whoever, has a moment to go ahead and, resolve whatever any reputation issues that they might be or might be having, right? So that's what I would say about that if you're having fluctuating results. The other thing I would say is look at the type of content of email that you're having. Again, emails, and John, I receive your emails, and you write really good email, John, but they're always long, right? They're long emails, and they have a lot of links and these various different things. So I would look at, all right, well, what content or what kind of content I'd be sending when I'm getting those inconsistent results versus what kind of content am I sending when I'm getting consistent results, right? That's the other area at work. So one of those options is something that you can personally control, which is what is included in the content of the email that you're sending. And the other one is something that's kind of completely outside of your control, which is you may have just, pulled the short straw when the MTA of whoever you're using decided to pick the IP for your broadcast email. Happens, right? Sometimes, even with AWS, sometimes you just get a bad IP, and that happens, and you deal with it, and that's kind of like that's just the truth of doing business. But I will say this: you may be hearing that and saying, "Well, I don't want to pull a bad IP, so I want a dedicated IP." The answer to that is no. Still use the rotating IP of those big services because, again, they're being constantly monitored so that reputation issues, when they do happen, they don't happen for long. If you have a dedicated IP, if you get a reputation issue, you're stuck with that for a long time. And it's just much easier for them to spin up a new IP and put you on that with their pre-existing history than you trying to rebuild a reputation after a bad email that you sent. So hopefully that makes sense. John has a follow-up. He says, adjust these settings without changing. I don't know what your follow-up means, John. Maybe you want to clarify that just a little bit for me so I can better answer that question. You do have a follow-up though. You asked about DKIM and SPF. If you don't have those set up, that's a no-brainer. Changing the DKIM won't matter. The DKIM is just a method of authentication that that inbox providers use to verify that so-and-so sender has permission to send email on your behalf. And it's a security key and all of these things. And it's basically just permissions. So changing that won't impact the deliverability of your email, if that makes sense. Harry says, can I have a reader tick a link in a broadcast and have him or her in a funnel? Absolutely. So if they click a link in an email, you can use either a super link or the email link click benchmark in a funnel and start it. So absolutely the answer to that question is yes. An example of how that looks. Let's go to funnels. I'll just use this one. So there is a benchmark called link clicked, which is here. And I can just copy this one and then put whatever the area you want them to send them to here. But just copy this, and then we can go use that in any email that we want. I'm just going to stick it here for the sake of time. There we go. Send that in, and then click on broadcast, and then you're good to go. So absolutely the answer to that question is yes. And then Harry also has a follow-up question. Cron job YouTube at welcome screen is different to the current screen. Where to disable the internal cron job, please? So there's a couple ways that you can disable the internal cron job, Harry. The easiest way is to go to the miscellaneous settings, and there is a section here to disable the WB cron. If it's already disabled on your site, Harry, this won't actually appear. It'll be hidden if it's already disabled. So there's nothing for you to do. So if it's not showing there, then you're good. Don't worry about it. And it's already disabled. And that means you just have to set up the external one on cronjob.org and you're good to go. So hopefully that answers your question, Harry. John has a follow-up. He says, thanks, dude. Great insights. Actually asking about my wife's brand emails, having a 10-day email challenge, and several subscribers are reporting that random emails and the sequences aren't delivering, even in spam. Really appreciate your ideas. Going to watch the Groundhog movie today, and we'll be likely thinking of email marketing the whole darn time. So if emails just aren't being received, then that sounds like just an MTA failure. So an MTA is called a mail transfer agent, and we actually have one set up for Mailhawk, and it is the broker between, and it's very complicated, and I had someone help me set it up with Mailhawk, and it is the broker between the sender, you, and the inbox. And it has all the backend technology to actually make that communication happen. SendGrid is a glorified MTA. They have a KMTA, a kick-ass MTA. Camta is what they call it, which is pretty cool. And all of like Infusionsoft and Keep and Active Campaign, their email is basically built on this concept of mail transfer agent. And that just sounds like a mail transfer agent failure. So Gmail and Outlook had a ton of problems in the last couple weeks with inbox. Like their servers were just down. So an MTA from us would try to send an email or basically deliver an email to an inbox provider, but we would get like a 404 does not exist error because their server was down and they just couldn't receive email. So sometimes that happens, and the user, generally the end user, the recipient, isn't really notified when that happens. But it could also just be that Gmail or Outlook were having a bad day, which happens more often than you think. I had no idea that was a common recurrence before starting Mailhawk, and I have an MTA of my own now, and I see that their servers go down on a regular basis, basically. So it could just be that Gmail and Outlook or whoever was just having a bad day and they weren't receiving emails. So I would check for any commonality in the recipients of those emails. Was it Gmail? Was it Outlook? And then you can actually go to downdetector.net, I think it is, and actually see the history of when problems were being reported at Outlook or Gmail. Okay, where are we at? All right, we're at 3:56. We're approaching the top of the hour. So last call for any questions related to deliverability, to the promotions folder, to the inbox folder. I have another question from Harry. Harry asks, I scheduled a broadcast, but I want to send it at a different time. Cancel it, reschedule it. That's the only way to reschedule it. So just cancel it. It'll stop all of the emails from going out. Then reschedule the email for the time that you want. It's not going to impact anything in your system or reports or anything because the email was never sent really. So that's how you go about that, Harry. John says, thanks, Adrian. I'm excited to test the new funnel builder you have teased. Any ETA on updates, asking for a friend. So nothing has changed on that front. The funnel editor, Groundhog 3.0, the new funnel editor and the new email builder and all of that fun stuff will be coming out March 31st. That is our deadline that we have committed to. The end of the first quarter is when Groundhog 3.0 will hit store shelves, and you can all download it and have fun with it. All right, let's wrap it up. If you need additional help beyond what you were able to receive here today, you have options. So you can go to academy.groundhog.io. We got tons of free courses there. We have office hours recordings. We have more free courses. So lots of education and learning opportunities there. We have our certified partner directory. So if you prefer to hand off the work to someone more experienced than you and you want to sit back, relax, and just focus on building your business, that person exists. Those are our certified partners. And you can go to the certified partner directory to connect with one of them in your local region, and you can search based on budget and based on price and based on the tools that you're using. It's very, very cool. So go to our certified partner directory for more about that. If you think Groundhog would fit into a colleague or a business friend or a friend's tech stack, and you think it might be able to help them solve critical problems in their business, we'll actually reward you for any interactions or any referrals that you send our way. All you have to do is register for an affiliate account, and we will actually send you 20% recurring commissions for the rest of that client lifetime. So I think that's pretty generous on our part. Would you like to receive 20% recurring commissions on a $500 product? I would. Sounds like a great deal to me. If you're not following us on social, please start. We're on Insta, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. The handles for all of those at GroundhogWP. We're always part of the conversation, and we'd love to communicate with you outside of office hours and outside of the Facebook group. So if you want to be part of our community outside of this closed niche, then follow us on those channels. If you have yet to leave a 5-star review on our WordPress.org repository page, it would be a massive help if you would take 3 minutes out of your day to go create an account for WordPress.org and leave a 5-star review. We're currently at 78. If you could help us get to 85-star reviews, that would be absolutely stellar. See what I did there? Because stars, stellar, nobody cares. So yeah, WordPress.org/plugins/groundhog to leave a 5-star review and some feedback, and we'd be really appreciative. If you have additional questions and you weren't able to ask your question on the stream, you do have recourse. You can continue to comment on the stream. We're going to continue to monitor it and answer questions, provide feedback. You can post in the Facebook group. That's what the Facebook group is here for. It is created for you to leave your questions and for the community to help you get answers, or me to help you get answers, or Drew or Jesse, or any of us on the Groundhog team to get you answers. You can message our live chat. It's on the website. It's on our Facebook page as well. You can add us on Twitter and be part of our social conversation. You can shoot us an email to help or info@groundhog.io. So lots of ways to get answers to your burning questions so you can launch your funnel, grow your list, and scale your business faster than you ever could before. Thank you for joining me. My name is Adrian. I know it's asking a lot for business owners to take an hour and 3 minutes out of their day to spend with me to talk about email deliverability and all of these things. So I just want to say I'm appreciative of your time and I'm grateful, and I look really forward to seeing everyone next week for a 10 a.m. session of office hours. We'll see everyone then. Happy Groundhog Day. Enjoy, for those of you who is going to watch the Groundhog Day movie, enjoy yourself, watch popcorn, think of Groundhog while you're doing that, and we'll catch everyone next week. Thanks.